Yes, sir. Thank you very much, and thank you for your service.
Hey, Jay Ray, can you put your outfit on here? Your group or whatever. What was it, 460? No, I haven't. Was it 467? Yeah. Just got that to it.
Before we do anything else, let's do the most important thing and have a pledge of allegiance to the flag. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well done. Does anybody need hearing enhancers? Can you all hear me? There's a couple coming down. Anybody? Yeah. Over here, please. I probably need them more than you do. Okay. A couple of announcements. One that I'm most guilty of. If you've got a cell phone, please turn it off. If it buzzes, that's your personal excitement. Don't let it ring. Some local announcements. I'd like to ask Laura Pasuelo to tell us what's going on. She's got a lot going on. As you know, she is with the tour group that takes people from all over Europe, and I've been on 2 of them, and she's got a lot of them coming up, specialty tours, and she's had some very interesting things happen recently and has some interesting things coming up. So, Laura. Here.
I didn't see him come in. Jim, are you here? Jim Cushling is not here. Okay. Are all of you familiar with this great publication, American World War II magazine? And you know that it's published right here in the Mid-State? Did you know that? Yeah, it's published right here in the Mid-State. It's a pretty expansive readership. And Jim and his wife, Jim is the publisher, his wife is on staff, and they approached us in May of last year to do a double victory tour, domestic. So you are the first to have this rolled out. This will be the 1-page ad that's in the issue that will be in your mailbox or in your Kindle in a couple of weeks. We will do 4 days in New Orleans with emphasis on the National World War II Museum there, some guest speakers who have been contributors to the magazine. We'll, of course, do the traditional New Orleans jazz brunch. We'll put you on the coach. We'll head across Texas, stop one night in College Station to visit the George Bush Library, newly dedicated, as well as the Colonel Rudder Memorial at Texas A&M. Colonel Rudder was the colonel who led the Rangers up the cliffs at Point Du Hoc. Then we'll move on to Fredericksburg, Texas, which is the National Museum of the Pacific. It is not in Oahu. contrary to our popular thoughts. The Cushlands have been there before and said it is just a magnificent museum. So you have to get yourself to New Orleans because the opportunity is nationwide. And then from the time you land in New Orleans until you get dispatched on Sunday of Memorial Day weekend to head back to the airport, we will take care of you. So it is going to be limited to 50 people. 25,000 households will be getting the magazine on November 1st. Okay, thanks. 2014, the Lebanon Chamber is doing a tour focused on the 28th Infantry Division and Major Dick Winters. That will be just Normandy and across St. Lo, back up into Paris, where the 28th march down the Champs-Elysees. We will go to the Duxford Air Show in the UK in July and do the full Band of Brothers tour. And then, most importantly, we will do the 70th anniversary of the start of Operation Market Garden. Who among the crowd remembers being on a tour and being in Eindhoven? Show of hands. You will be in Eindhoven on this tour on the 70th anniversary, and we have connections with the museums where we will actually take you to the drop zone where the 101st came in. We do an explore up into Arnhem and Nijmegen and Grosbeek where the 82nd served, and of course the whole tour, although the backbone of the tour is the 101st. We talked about the 10th Armored, the 28th in the Battle of Bulge, and so it's pretty comprehensive. And there's room for 15 people left. That's in September next year. And the Italian campaign. We're going to do the Italian campaign next year. That's it.
Thank you. A couple more announcements now. Okay, Bill Jackson gave me this to announce to you. It was sent in by a lady who wants to offer for anybody here to be invited for free. Got that, you guys from Lebanon? For free. It's the 17th annual Lancaster County 50 Plus Expo, 9 to 2 p.m. on Wednesday, November 6th at the Spooky Nook Sports in Manheim. Admission is free. What applies to us is here is a unique addition to this year's Lancaster County Expo will be a special program to honor veterans beginning at 11 a.m. that will include patriotic music, entertainment, and guest speakers, including Congressman Joe Pitt and Doug Etter from the Lebanon VA Medical Center. They ask you to bring your PD-214 if you want to have enroll in the free Thank a Vet Veterans Discount Program. Bring your PD-214. Okay? Also, Rick Hollis, stick your hand up, Rick, over there. I'd like to announce that Saturday, October 12th, the Balls Bluff and Leesburg field trip will be on behalf of the Harrisburg Hershey Civil War Roundtable Fall Field Trip. There will be flyers placed in the back on that, so please have a look. It's too long for me to read right now, but be aware that they'll be right back there if you're interested in a Civil War Roundtable field trip. Okay? Next, as usual, I always like to ask if there's any first-timers here. If there's first-timers, please raise your hand. Oh, look at you. Great. First time here? First time here? Don't be shy. There you go. The gentleman right down here is Charles Spager. He is a World War II vet from whom we have not heard yet. He was in the, had the pleasure of riding around in a B-17 during World War II. I'm sure there's stories to tell, but we'll try to get him to tell it on another day. So welcome, Charles. Thank you for being here. Any other World War II vets? You're not alone. Look at them all. And if any of you would please like to come forward and give a little presentation of your activities, we'd love to have it if you haven't done it already, or even if you have, it's been a while, if you'd like to redo it, we can do that too. If you only want to do a short one, we can combine it with somebody else on another short one, but basically, we want to hear your story, so please, don't be shy, okay? See me or any of the other guys. Steve Gallerizzo, hold up your hand. He's in charge of recruiting people, and if you want to talk to him about it, he'll give you the full rundown. Thank you. Okay. November's speaker will be Eugene Alexander. This will be an interesting one. He was an merchant marine who helped relocate people from Europe to Israel just after the war. And you know, that was one heck of a project there, getting people from point A to point B. So, and we've heard earlier speakers talk about how hard it was after war for them to get relocated. So that would be a nice piece of the patchwork. Tonight's speaker is Ray Bickel. If you were here a couple of months ago, we had a presentation by Don Miller, who wrote Masters of the Air about the 8th Air Force. Terrific presentation. And this book, it's got a lot in it. And it recounts probably a lot of the things that Ray would remember. And so we're happy to hear his version of it because it's not done in novel fashion, it's done from real life. So Ray, a B-24 navigator assigned to the 8th Air Force, flew 35 missions. That's a lot. As you know, the losses for the 8th were just unbelievably high, more than the Marines lost in Okinawa and Pelevu and places like that. So tremendous losses. So just to get through 35 missions alone is pretty damn good. And he was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross for doing it. I'd say he probably had to have about 16 clusters on it. But at any rate, Ray, we're going to turn it over to you, and we're looking forward to hearing your story. Thank you very much for being here.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. And well, that was good. I'd like to thank all of you for coming tonight, because I know it's hard to be out driving at night, and I hope you all make it home safely. And I'd like to introduce my gang. This is Europe. That's Jonathan, that's my son. And his wife, Maria. And my granddaughter, Lucy. And Lenny Schutt. Some of you know him, but you may stand up too and take a bow. He's the one that's been instrumental to getting me to come tonight, and my son did a lot of work to get all these pictures organized. And I would like to say that it's good to see you here, because yesterday I was at the old folks' home in Myerstown, and Dr. Baumberger's brother just told me that the dentist, Dr. Baumberger's wife, died, and I didn't know that, and I've been going on the door and knocking on the door, and nobody answered, but he said she died last month. Well, anyway, I would like to start out with, I like those hats. World War II better, so, well, I just got this thing, and I'm sorry if I'm blocking your view, but I start out here and at Osanis College in 1942. And one of my friends came and said Frank Orlando was enlisting in the Air Corps because he wanted to be a pilot. So I went along up to Middletown there, and we all, I don't know how, were any of you in the detachment that left on February the 26th of 43 for Miami Beach? Or any of you Miami Beachers here? Am I the only one that went to Miami Beach? Well, it was from here down to Miami Beach, and then we had basic training and stayed in hotels. They took the hotel furniture off and put in double-decker bunks, and that's where we had basic training, PT on the beach, and drilling on the golf course. And I really came because I thought I'd meet some of you people that were down there with me. But I guess I was wrong. So from Miami Beach, they sent us up into Augustana College in Rock Island, Illinois. Because we went up there because the pipeline was full and there wasn't any room for any more pilots or navigators or bombardiers. So they sent us up there to college. And then the good thing about that was we got 4 hours of flight time. Now that was pretty neat in a Piper Cup. So then they sent us from there down to San Antonio for classification. Anybody was at San Antonio for a classification. They got classified into being a navigator, pilot, bombardier, or a gunner. Well, I chose to be a pilot, and from pilot school, from down there, I went up to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Tulsa, Oklahoma had the Spartan School of Aeronautics, and there we flew in PT-19s. And I guess I used to not have because I still don't have good depth perception, but I used to bounce in from 50 feet or more, and then they said, get out of here. How about trying to be a navigator? I said, okay, that sounds good. So from Tulsa, they sent me back down to, what's the name of the place? All right. And my memory is going. After only more 90 people here, because once you get to be 90, you forget things. Anyway, so I went down and San Antonio, and then they sent us to school. At where?
I say Galveston, but San Marcos. San Marcos, you go to that.
All right, I had him at all the places I've been. He knows most of. He could give me this speech better than I can, because he's met all the people in my crew. So, but anyway, from there I went to San Marcos, Texas, and Ellington Field was in Austin. I know it wasn't very well. But anyway, we went from here at graduation February the 26th, 1944, and then they sent us from here up to here, and that's Westover Field near Springfield, Massachusetts, and that's where we met our crew, and the crew was 10 people, and oh, there's the crew, okay. Well, there's is that the best, can you?
We can probably turn it, can we dim the lights, and I don't know if we can a little bit in front or not, if possible. We'll try to
You're going to get that light. Well, anyway, that's not very good.
There you go.
That's a crummy picture, but
Which one are you?
it's getting better. As a co-pilot, and radio operator, and a pilot, and that could be me. That's John Bosco. And this guy is going to be 90 in 2 weeks. He lives in Long Island, and he and I are the only ones left alive out of this crew. The engineer and the tail gunner, and he was my nose gunner. So, what's next? Well, okay. And that thing.
Yeah. Here, okay.
Okay, you're going to have just get rid of that one. Because it doesn't show up. Thank you. Okay, from the United States here, we're going to sign a brand new B-24 up at Mitchell Field in New York. And from there, we went up to Bangor, Maine, and then up to Goose Bay in Labrador. And then we hopped over to Greenland. How many ever did that stuff? No. Well, it's very tricky getting into the air base there because the airfield runway is built on a slant up the hill. And if you get in the wrong slot in the field, you have to turn around and hope you have enough gas to get back. But from Greenland, you know that ice cap is 10,000 feet deep. And we went from there over to Iceland, and from Iceland over to Wales, and from Wales over to Norwich, England, and the base was called WWII. And in WWII, I was assigned to the 790th Squadron, and Colonel Shaw was our CO, and Colonel Shaw was tough. He always made us practice in our spare time. And because we kept such good tax formations, we were never hit by the German fighters. Like I have one here from another group that you might get to see later. All right, Lenny, do your thing.
Well, he's changing that. There's a picture up there of a PT-19.
What's there?
Right behind you. You got a picture of the PT-19.
Oh, that's one of our PT-19s. And I like that cockpit. And I hated those dives when you had to do spins down. All you were hanging on was a seat belt. Well, a seat belt, that's all. And I didn't enjoy that much. So that's when I washed out of power train. Now, well, I know you have that up there because we landed over there in Wales and went over to Norwich. We had the closest space to Europe that anybody had there with the B-24 group. And from there, well, do you have any more?
Next one is that one right here.
Oh. Yeah, but can anybody see that?
I don't know. It's up on the screen. It's up there.
It's up on the screen. All right, then put it away. Well, the blue lines, all of those lines were bombing missions. And this one down here, we took a trip one year over to Turkey and Greece and went over and we had a trip there too. But that's most of our missions were up there. And some of the people that, oh, that's much better. The first one was to St. Lo, and that's where our troops were bottomed up. And the troops were pinned down on the Omaha and Juneau and the beaches there with the Germans. Well, how many went into that for any? Well, I can't help. I lost too much weight when I was in the hospital for a while. Mainly because I fell off my snowmobile. So, of course, it hasn't snowed much the last 2 winters. So I didn't get out much. That's what happened there. And any more pictures? All right, I took Jonathan and Lucy and my nephew's son to the Lancaster airport back in August, like August the 29th, and we went for a ride in one of these, and that's the one. That's the Collins Foundation has the only B-24 flying in the shape it should be in. There may be another one flying something, but there were 18,200 of them made, and there were like 12,000 B-17s made. But those 17s got most of the publicity because they were stationed at at London, right close to London, and we were up the coast to Norwich. All right, what's that?
Okay, Lucy, you're all ready to go? All right, good. Ready to take our plane ride? There we go.
Stop here. And when we got to Rackheath, it's about 5 miles out of Norwich, and we had Quonset huts. We even had an orderly who kept the fires burning, and I think maybe he made up on beds, I don't remember. But anyway, that was where we were. Our whole crew was ready to go on the first combat mission. And the first one was to St. Lo, when our troops were bottled up on the beach and the Germans were up on the hill. And you would say it was like a suicide mission because we were flying at 12,000 feet, and normally we flew at 24,000, and we were supposed to be dropping these bombs on the Germans so that our troops could break through to get in with General Patton. But I guess some of you remember a General McVeigh got killed by one of our own bombs, and of course it was just such close bombing, and the general was too close to the line. But he wasn't the only one, I guess, got killed. But do you have anything else?
Do you want to go through the rest of this flight, or do you want to do something else? Or do you want to go to the next slide? You want to go back? We can do this one later, where we actually watch the plane come in. We'll do that next time.
Did you bring this in?
This is the one of the actual from Colonel Mahoney. You want to watch that?
Oh, all right.
All right.
Can you get somebody? When we flew, we got Colonel Mahoney was our deputy. Colonel Shaw was the commander, but Colonel Mahoney took all these pictures. How could he get around without getting into any problem? Because he was in charge of the whole thing. And this is where he started. He made a video, and he narrates the video, and it's better than any the U.S. Air Force has. And if you could get them to dim that light up there, we could. This is Colonel Mahoney's tape here.
The roundup was on the far edge of the base. On all sides, types of bombs visible on the small anti-personnel bombs. those containing the red tags, to the largest we carried, that is the 2,000-pound bomb. 4 of these were carried in each B-24. Following that are some scenes ready for the day's mission. These are somewhat unusual in that most of our mission preparation was occurred late in the day, and most missions took off early in the morning. This happened to be about at the time of the bulge when we were flying round the clock support missions off the ground troops. You see the planes being fueled and bombed. Another shot of Big Pete, and then some GI art on our various planes. Most recognizable of which is witchcraft. Much has been written about the witch. The 130 missions were out on board. The number of bombs dropped, the number of wings changed, engines changed, holes patched, etc. But the most interesting to the crew members was that nobody was ever injured in any way when flying the witch. The next scene shows the crews loading the trucks after leaving to be taken to their hard stands. Then some start engine scenes. Again, these films were taken during the rather unusual operations at the time of the bulge. Normally, this all occurred during darkness. Next, you can see the caravan and takeoffs shooting in from the perimeter strip both sides of the runway. We used 15-second intervals and alternate feed from either side of the runway. The planes took off in the order in which they would reach and form up at that altitude. Our formation altitude was generally our bombing altitude, usually about 20,000, most often about 22,500. proceeds, there's a sequence of what we call the second dawn occurring above the clouds. Usual Sunday time, early morning. Also, you can see Big Pete standing out rather clearly. As we circled for assembly, somewhere up north, just beyond Cromer, the leader flying assembly flares. As you know, each group had its own combination of colors in two-star flares. Ours happened to be a combination of red-green. The leader was supposed to fire on every 20 seconds. The usual three-squadron assembly. There's no fixed size to group formation. We put up whatever the division field order called for. And this ran any place from 18 to 62. Which was our B-47 flown by the old man, myself, and our group operations officer, used for shepherding lost sheep into our formation. Inasmuch as we operated on radio silence, this was usually done by flying in tight and using hand signals to direct the wandering liberator toward his leader. Little Pete, like Big Pete, returned to base after the group was formed and on its way. Formation shots, some loose and some not so loose. Mustangs, climbing trail, and the next series of flares indicate the IP, that is the initial point of bomb run, at which time the leader signaled that point with flares and turned toward the target. The bomb bay doors opened. We might be interested in the number 3 that appears under the cell on one of the engines. Because the top turret gunner could rotate his turret at high speed, he sometimes lacked orientation. Next, you see flag and many planes converging on a target area. One plane is hit, goes down in flames, a few shoots come out. Then bombs away, which I took on a milk-run type tour over France where my presence in the command seat was not particularly urgent. Following that, the bombing of Pointe de Grave, which Roger Freeman refers to in his book as being the most accurate bombing ever done by the 8th Air Force. Also on route home, some B-51s, two B-51s, performing victory rolls as they went by to indicate to us they had shot down an enemy plane that day. And some high contrails again of fighters, and some contrails being made by bombers. Next is Little Boot coming up to meet us for a number of reasons, to check to see what priorities we had for the landing group in terms of damaged airplanes, wounded aboard, etc. Also to closely visually inspect any suspected damage of the planes. There are some broken clouds over the North Sea. Plenty of room for an easy letdown. After that, the 3-squadron group approaches the field, and from here on, pictures are taken from the tower. We start our procedure landing, which lands one squadron at a time. The first squadron peels its planes on 5-second intervals. The other 2 squadrons circle. Individual planes circle over the tower, and the control officer, or in this case, arrows up at the top with the field glasses, checking the planes for any damage. Planes were scheduled to land at 20-second intervals. I say scheduled because it was a very difficult target to achieve. see the second squadron coming around and peeling its planes off, and the third squadron will make one more wide swing out toward Great Yarmouth before coming back for its turn to peel off its planes. Sneaks in with me at the controls that day. I taxi the hours in and climb up. Then there are various scenes of planes landing and returning.
Well, I thought the colonel did a good job on this tape because he could go anywhere and do what he wanted. Now, with that,
You're fine. There you go. Where are you going now?
where was it?
It's fine. Just keep on the chair. There you go.
Well, there were a couple of things I want to point out. You saw those 50 caliber machine gun whereas you and Lucy could show some of these. Here's a piece of the runway that Jonathan and I picked up. Just show it to them, don't let them keep it. Because I'm the only one who seemed that used to get the flak up front. And this is a piece you can show. This is an actual piece of German flak that came up in my nose, shattered all the glass, and I could be blind, but I moved my head a couple seconds before this one came. But this is a piece of Germany right here in your own hand. And here it is. Now, what do she have? And here are, oh good, these are real German medals. And I thought she was going to, there. Those are real medals. Those are from World War I. My father-in-law brought them home. Here's one you probably never heard of, but this is that fella again. Whatever you're going to put. This is unbelievable, but believe it, it said it in the Lebanon Daily News. that there were 679 casualties from Lebanon County. And this guy, he was my roommate down in Miami Beach. And there were 245 killed in action from Lebanon County alone. And when you think of all the counties in the state of Pennsylvania, I don't know what the total is, but it was a lot. And the Daily News put the pictures in the paper. Well, I didn't get that in, but that's all. I'll save it for later. Do you want to take? Well, this is hard, but I'll just show this around. That's heavy, watching. Well, I'm going to put it in. All right. You can get rid of that.
These are his, yes. I think so, yeah.
Well, this is one of the jackets that we got at a reunion, and there comes the wingspan of this B-24 was 110 feet, and all this says over here that they started in March the 1144, and I got there and flew the first mission in July the 24th, and the Germans had us all. Can you imagine? Well, any of you went in there on D-Day? Because the Germans were up on the hill and they had the machine guns trained on all. I don't know how they could miss anybody, but that's, and then that's why I said we went in to open up, and that's what we did. And then if you want to take anything along,
I think you're good.
no.
You did a good job. They can come up and look at it. They can come up after your presentation.
Yeah. Well, are you at the next at the moment?
That's your plane right there.
That's the one we flew in mostly. Oh, that's what I wanted you to do. But take. Now this is the original jacket and paint from 70 years ago, and each one of those bumps represents that. Over here you could take the other one. And he gave me this jacket for a Christmas present, and it's my size. That was a 38, and this is like a 44.
He did. Notice the pictures were really nice. Oh, the jacket itself. I'm sorry. No, he didn't fly in that jacket. The gentleman asked, what jacket did you fly in when you were flying? You didn't fly in this jacket. What jacket?
We had those big, heavy sheepskin things, and that's how I got that piece of slack. It was so hot, and I put the jacket over the bum side, and when that piece of shell came in, sometimes they say the flak was so thick you could walk on it. Well, it wasn't really, but it was pretty close. And that's why I got that piece caught in the sheepskin jacket. And I got another one about 7 missions later. I gave that piece of flak to one of the wing scholars. He didn't catch. They were hard to catch flak, I guess. So, now what do you have?
There's a picture of you.
Well, I graduated from school on February the 24th in 1944, and then I said we went up to Westover, and then we went over from there. But that was, what else do you have? Okay, you could, that's the Colonel Shaw when he died too. Next, I don't know. Oh, that's a map of navigational aids. I forgot to tell you, but we had a map. They send out signals from these stations and where the lines, they plotted the whole thing with his maps, and it was celestial. I don't know what happened to that one. Where'd you put that one?
What do you mean?
What?
Here it is.
Oh, go show that one. This. Oh. This is one of the aids that navigators use, but when you look through here, there was a bubble in there. The bubble disappeared, but every time you saw the star or this whatever you would, they say you were shooting by pressing on that button, and that's one of the tools. I should be able to find somebody who could get this back again, but I can't. So,
There's another tool up there on the board.
what's up there?
Your E6B or whatever.
All right, that's a circular slant rule and a compass to plot the course, which is what we were supposed to plot the course and keep track of where we were at all the time. And so you could go home any time if you needed to, if they knocked an engine on, or that we aborted the mission. And then the navigator was supposed to know where he was. Really, you have 10 minutes of the next one.
We could. All right. Because I know they want to wrap it up here soon. So.
Well, the 445th Bomb Group wasn't as lucky, or whatever you would figure level. They had 3 navigators on the plane, and for some reason, the main bomber stream, there was some days that those bombers went out by like 3,000 at a time, And with all the fighter escort, I had it in the newspaper, the Stars and Stripes, that there were 5,000 airplanes in the air over Germany in one day. It's something you'll never ever see. What did you find?
I don't know, you wanted to show that, the Pride of the Nation clip, is that what you want to show yet? What you have in mind, what are you talking about?
Is this the one from Castle?
Yes.
Well, anyway, I started saying that on this Castle raid, one squadron went that way, and the main group went straight ahead. And the Germans knew everything what we were doing. They were always listening in. There were 150 German fighters came up, and they did such a tremendous job. Like in 5 minutes, they shot down like 28 of those big bombers that Japan had running. And then our people went over after the war. This was about 10 years ago, and they all became good buddies. And they had meals together, and they went out to where all this happened.
September 27th started out like any other demonstration.
Navigator Donald Whitefield on Captain Webb Eviler's deputy lead plane had no reason to believe otherwise.
Everything was normal. Bunching over England, getting into the bomber stream was normal. Penetration of occupied territory was normal.
Alerted are 3 elite storm groups of Focke-Wulf 190s. Elite because of the planes, elite because of the men. Heinz Papenburg is one of those pilots. At 9:30 he takes off from his base at Norderlotion, flying the Black 13th. His FW-190, like all the others in the storm group, has double armor plates and extra fuel tanks. Papenburg and all the storm group pilots swear an oath.
Ein Abschuss zu machen. Oder they have committed themselves to destroy the enemy plane. If their plane was disabled, they were supposed to ram the enemy, or else they would have been tried by corruption. This he had signed for Lieutenant Colonel.
Die Disziplin der amerikanischen Bombenflieger.
An admirer of the discipline among the formations of the American bombers and the way they were flying in their formations.
Oscar Long, an ace pilot with 92 kills, came back from Russia to defend the Reich. He flies from Lukow in an FW-190 with 6 guns, 20 and 30 millimeter cannons on each wing, and 2 13s on top. Rom can fire them individually using a variety of ammunition, kinds that go through armament, go through and explode, or go through setting everything on fire.
Das waren Geschosse, die
a terrible kind of ammunition, so they were called mine bullets, and they were tearing pieces of about 1 square meter off of the enemy. That's how effective they were.
Ernst Schroeder takes off from his base at Finsterwald, flying Red 19, Cologne aloft. He was asked by the German ministry to test 2 experimental compasses that would help him fire on 2 bombers in a very short time and fire accurately at great distances.
They went to a cloud cover, and they were guided by their ground control station.
Nearing the initial point of the bomb run to the target, air crews are becoming apprehensive. They are about to face a crucial part of the mission, the dreaded flak and German fighters. It is undercast, complete cloud cover below them. The 445th cannot see the ground. Several lead planes have 3 types of navigators on board, each to help maintain course and identify targets. The radar navigator, the pilotage navigator who uses visual checkpoints, and the dead reckoning navigator who uses wind speed, airspeed, and ground speed.
Attentive, and then they were trying to either fly below or above the airplane that they were attacking.
Feuervorhang durchzukommen.
And we had a lot of luck to get to the curtain of fire from the enemy ships.
Paul Dickerson is a waist gunner on Isom's plane.
Carl Bailey, a top third guy of the Precious brother, he said somebody out of some seen it and he said, "Shut up, we're getting get killed. What are we talking about?"
Planes were going down all around. Somebody bailed out, and somebody didn't get out of one blew up, and it was just tragic. You just couldn't see them. You couldn't do nothing about it. You just sat there wondering if you were going to be dead.
Tail gunner Gray empties his guns. The critical point when the fighters are in greatest danger is 1,000 meters from the bomber formation.
The way he looked at it, he was trying to get the tail gun first because it was very dangerous when they were approaching the plane. So he was using his 13mm guns because he could fire with them at the long range.
As Ron nears, he fires his heavier guns.
He was trying to fire at the motors or the engines of the plane on one side and set them on fire.
If 2 engines on one side are on fire, aeronautical control over the plane is lost.
During the attack, when he shot down 3 planes, he first got the one on the left, and he moved over to get the one on the right, and the last one was the lead plane.
Jack Erickson is the radio operator on Lieutenant Golden's crew.
Fox said, "You better go to base and know what's happening." And so I got on and said, "That's all this kid." CW back to base, but I knew about it in cover because I didn't have time. I didn't think we had time. So I said in English, "We're under attack and we're getting destroyed. You better get us some help out here."
Co-pilot Roy Ellender's plane is on fire in the bomb bay.
"We've got to get out of here." So I picked up the intercom and I actually gave the order to bail out. I said, bail out, we're on fire."
The pilot, Elder, is setting the autopilot. Ellender shakes him.
Come on, let's go. And so he said, okay. And he was still tweaking a little bit. He told me, he said, go like that. So I ran and was right through the bomb bay.
W-190 flies over Reg Miner's left wing upside down. Miner can see the German's face.
Here we are trying to kill one another, and that shows, it looks we're kind of a personal sort of a thing.
They heard the sound all of a sudden of explosions and cannons going off from the airplane.
12-year-old Walter Hassenflug and his classmates are sent home from school because of an air raid warning. American bombers are in the area.
Das war für uns eine Bandbreite drauf, das
As children, for them, it was sensational to see planes fighting in the air. And they were really actually waiting for it to happen so they could watch it.
Two engines were out with fires on each wing. It got bad enough so that I rang the bailout signal.
All of a sudden, coming at me from just a big ball of fire, just right here like a drum in front of my face. It was a loud, big ball of fire. And it knocked me out of terror. He immediately fell to the ground, his face just a mass of blood. And when he hit the ground right alongside, I thought the poor guy was dead.
Thornton thinks he is dead too.
When I came up to my childhood, you know, I can remember when I was in East McCall, Mississippi, going through school. I remember when I played high school sports. And when I got back and it came up to the point, I said, well, I guess I'll reach the point there. I said, I guess I'll never see my family again.
Bertram doesn't hear the signal, but knows it must have rung. Gasoline pours into bomb bay.
Lord, we're going to explode.
Meanwhile, for gunners Larry Bowers and Elvis Kitchens, trouble in the waist.
We looked around and the radio operator, who was a substitute radio operator, Guilford, had been hit in the leg. His leg was almost blown off. We also had one of the parachutes that was scattered all over the waist.
We could say he hurt really bad and his leg was blown off. Just dangling, and we tried to do the best we could with the tourniquet and put his shoe on and put him out the back patch.
If this is far down, I'm not going to be afraid of this, because something's going to happen. The good Lord or somebody's going to take care of it, and you're going to be real calm.
Bertram cannot open the bomb bay doors, so he heads for the nose wheel doors. He sees Matt Thornton stir and gives him an oxygen bottle.
I still could not understand why he was still alive, because his face was just solid red, with blood, caked, frozen. And my left leg, I remember my left leg when I moved it. And I said, my goodness, I'm still alive.
23,000 feet up, 50 below zero, the nose wheel doors are frozen too.
I kicked so hard that I darn near fell out. I ended with both feet in Space City at the open nose wheel door, and I looked down and I thought, oh Lord, that's a long way. What am I going to do? I better get back in the ship. I tried to get back in the ship. I turned around, the whole crew's about me pointing down. So out I went.
I think I did, yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna wrap it up.
All right. All right. This video was made by the G7 Lincoln's family that live in Oskimo, Michigan. And you can tell he went to a lot of places to get to the archives. So he has that German archive tape, and he showed this at one of our reunions. Well, how many people were in the Air Force here anyway? Oh, well, good, we have Air Force. So, good for you, yeah. So this whole video is only available from that D7 Lincoln's family, and you can't rent it at the rental store, but he did. It's 80 minutes if any you want to get one. Well, I don't even know how much he charges for it, but he gave us this one because he knew Jonathan is in charge of the history project at his school, and they take bus loads to Washington, D.C., and they take them, you can tell them.
You're good, I know you wrapped up, you're good.
Okay. Well, I know it's time to buzz out here.
Thank you, Ray, so much. Your own recollections plus the video help and the help of your family, thank you very much, gave us a pretty good idea of what all you went through. But, you know what amazes me about you World War II vets is your own modesty. You don't talk much about yourself, you talk about other people and what happened. I just think that's a true tribute to the greatest generation.
Oh, that, now I know what's going on. This weight's in my pocket. And I don't know what to call this thing, because it's heavy. No, thank you. You've been a great audience.
I have one question. I think I used the other one to turn that off. I have a different question. I have one question. You talked about getting back after 35. Did your whole crew come back with you?
Because I didn't mention that I cannot hear well. Now will you repeat?
Did your whole, you mentioned after 35 missions coming back, did your whole crew come back with you?
All right, the question was after 35 missions, did everybody come? Everybody that started out except one, like that kid with the cocky hat at an angle, because the pilots had to fly extra missions for orientation, and they had more missions than the kid had. And then he ran up to the CO and asked if he could get on a day when we weren't supposed to fly, and he wanted to go with another crew, and he did. And I can still see that plane down there, and it kept going lower, and I don't know why they didn't turn around and go home, but they didn't, and he's killed in action on his 5th mission. So everybody came home except that one.
And of all the flights, were you encountering any aircraft every time? And how often was your plane hit?
No, the flak was the biggest hazard for us because the fighter planes didn't bother us. I had to say that because the colonel made us practice all the time, and we kept a good tight formation, and they didn't. They went after sloppy people.
And your own plane, how often, you have a piece of flak here, how often was your plane hit with flak? Every mission or?
No, it sounded like gravel, somebody throwing gravel. We were hit every time, and I don't know how we ever managed to get home alive in the first place. But I'm here anyway.
Well, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. Are there any other quick questions? I know we're keeping them over time. Anybody else?
There's one.
Yeah.
Why were some planes painted and others not?
Why were some of the
B-24s painted and the others were not painted?
Why were some painted and others were not? In other words, they were silver.
Well, had no idea.
There's an honest answer. Well, again, thank you so much.
I didn't.
Do you know the answer? You have the answer.
Toward the end of the war, they realized we're putting about 500 pounds of paint on these planes, and so they just stopped painting them. So the later in the war, you see planes more and more appearing silver.
There you go. You asked the wrong guy. Okay. He said because during the end of the war, they realized they're putting about 500 pounds of paint on the
And they also took out the bowl turret because they weighed like 800 pounds, and they took all those out. So, they got rid of the bombardiers too, since we're talking about getting rid of things that were like a waste of weight, space. And there's a toggle switch, like you turn the light on, and they got the bright idea. You watch the plane open. When the B plane started dropping bombs, and then all I had to do was hit the toggle switch, and they started going on. They were all different kinds of bombs. You saw the bomb. 2,000 pounders were the biggest one, and then we could take 8,000 pounds, and B-17s took 6,000 pounds, but it was a pretty airplane.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much. Thanks again. I'd like to remind you that the helmet crew would be happy to entertain you on your way out. We don't charge anything. We do collect a couple of bucks if we can to help defray costs, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
I'm gonna sneak right through you. Watch yourself.
Somehow you missed it. This is a southern kind of thing. Picture of the tombstone in the cemetery there with the big B-24. Yeah, well, I'm running around.